Hey there, my awesome artists. So last week you guys learned all about your primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue. We learned that we use our primary colors to make secondary colors, which are green, purple, and orange. So since we learned all about our primaries, we're going to learn about our secondaries, and we're going to practice mixing our primary colors to make our secondary colors. And what better way to do that than with pumpkins. Since we're getting into fall and we've got the holidays coming up and Thanksgiving, and we start seeing those pumpkins everywhere. So that's what we're going to learn how to draw today. So, and this is actually going to be step 1 of your lesson. So after you guys complete your pumpkin drawings, you're actually going to save your pumpkins for next week, and we're going to continue with the lesson. So this is step 1 or part 1 of the lesson. All right, so what are you going to, and actually you guys, we're not even going to need our orange, purple, or green crayons because we're going to make our secondary colors. So all you're going to need today is a white piece of paper, a black crayon or something to draw with, and your 3 primary colors. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to start with my first pumpkin, and I'm going to kind of put them in different areas so that way they're not super close to each other and I have room to color. All right, now since we're going to actually be cutting out our pumpkin, so it's okay if you go outside the lines a little bit, that's okay. We do want to practice staying inside the lines for this lesson, but if you go outside the lines, it's no big deal because our pumpkins are not going to stay on this paper. So how do you draw a pumpkin? Well, we're going to be using our shapes. And the first shape you're going to be using is an oval. Now your pumpkins can be small or a little bigger than mine if you would like. All right, depending on what size paper you have. So you're going to make an oval. And then what you're going to do is this line right here, you're going to repeat it on the other side. And you're going to start at the very tip of the pumpkin and make half of an oval, just like that. You want to come out a little bit more because you want to have some space to color. So again, right here. And what I love about drawing pumpkins is that you can't go wrong. There are so many different kinds of pumpkins that come in all different sizes. And then we're going to make a stump. So we want our stump to be a little 3-dimensional. So that just means that we want it to look real. We want to look like it has length and width and some height in it. All right. So there's one pumpkin. And this pumpkin, I'm going to make this one a little bit, maybe a little bit kind of rounder. Let's see how this pumpkin comes out. So again, I'm going to make an oval, and then I'm going to make this same curved line just like this. There we go. All right, so I've got 1, 2, we need 1 more. I think this pumpkin might be a little taller. So what you can try doing with your pumpkins is drawing different kinds of pumpkins, some that are taller, some that are wider, all different sizes. So since I want this one to be a taller and maybe a skinnier pumpkin, I'm gonna make it a skinny oval. So all I'm doing is just repeating this line and I'm bringing it out, because I want to be able to color. And then to make a 3-dimensional little stump, we're just going to make a little flat pancake and bring the line down just like that. Okay, there's my 3 pumpkins, and as you can see, they're all pretty different. So let's talk about our primary colors again, which are red, yellow, and blue. So I'm going to color one of these pumpkins red, and I'm going to try my best to stay inside the lines and fill everything in nice and neat. And again, if you go outside the lines, no big deal, because we're going to cut out these pumpkins later on. Not today, but next week we will be cutting out our pumpkins because I don't want you to lose them. So just remember that you're going to hold on to this paper because we're going to need it next week. I would suggest maybe having an art folder at home to keep your artwork in, because some of our lessons are longer than just 1 week. Sometimes they take longer than that. right, so I've got my red pumpkin. All right, and now I'm going to move on to my yellow pumpkin. And remember, we are practicing and learning to stay inside the line so our work can be nice and neat. And as you notice how I color, I try not to color all over. I try to just kind of color in sections in little areas at a time. That way I don't miss anything. Because remember, we don't want any white spots. You want to fill everything in. All right. And now my last pumpkin, which is going to be my blue pumpkin. So I just color in little sections. And boys and girls, if you have paint, you can also paint. I'm using crayons. You can use colored pencils if you like. Markers also work. But please use whatever you have available at home to add color. All right, so there are my pumpkins, and whoops, I did forget about one color. You can use brown for the stump of your pumpkin. All right, guys, so there are our primary pumpkins, and now I am ready to change them, mix them into secondary pumpkins. So one of our secondary colors is purple. So we get purple by, we're gonna make an orange pumpkin. So one of the ways that we make orange is by taking a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow and mixing those together. So we have our red. Now let's try to add our yellow to make an orange pumpkin. Wow, look at that. And I try to color really hard, that way it really mixes really, really well. Look at that, guys. There is orange. Wow. That's some magic right there. How cool is that? That's so awesome that colors can do that. So red and yellow make orange. Okay, so we've got our orange pumpkin. Now the next color that we're going to make, the next secondary color is going to be green. So the way that we make green is taking a little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue. So we have our yellow, let's take our blue and mix it with the yellow and see what happens. Wow. Ooh, look at that pretty green color. Awesome. Going to continue coloring over that. We've got our green, and I could still see a little yellow, but that's okay because I think that makes it look pretty neat to still have that yellow showing. So it really shows that we're trying to mix. All right, so there's our green pumpkin, and we got that by taking a little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue. We mixed that and we made a green pumpkin. So we've got one more pumpkin left, and this is our blue pumpkin, which is now going to mix into a purple pumpkin. So the way that we do that is we take a little bit of red and a little bit of blue. So we have our blue. All right, guys, let's take our red crayon. Let's color over that pumpkin and see what happens. All right. Now, I always feel like purple's a little tricky depending on what kind of red you use. If you use a brighter red or a darker red, or if you end up finding like a pinkish red, then you might have an easier time turning it purple. So sometimes you have to play around with the colors a little bit. So if I feel like it's still looking a little red or too blue, then I have to add maybe more of something, more of a color. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over this pumpkin with some blue and see what happens. See if I can get it to see if it's going to look a little bit more purple. All right. And then I can even go back and forth and play again with my red and just see what happens. Color mixing is just all about experimenting and just exploring and seeing what works and what doesn't. All right, so I've got my purple pumpkin, which was taking a little bit of red and a little bit of blue. All right, boys and girls, so I've got all three of my secondary pumpkins ready to go. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna save these pumpkins for next week so that way we can finish part 2 of our lesson. And I'm gonna show you what that's gonna look like next week. So don't forget to please keep your artwork in a folder and save it for next week. You do not need to submit this in Schoology this week, okay? Because it's not the completed lesson, so you do not have to upload this. You do not have to take a picture of your pumpkins, all right? All you're gonna do is just hold on to it for next week. So I hope you enjoyed this first part of the lesson, and I will see you next week. Bye.